Good morning. Welcome to my channel. I want to talk about sustainability, about creating, when a lot of times when we want to make a change in our life, we make this drastic change and then we say, okay, we have to, we're going to, every morning we're going to get up and we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to make this massive change in our life. And sometimes that can work for us. Sometimes when we're ready to make a switch, when, for instance, getting over an addiction or in some way in that way, there can be mass change that just our whole life turns upside down. But typically, when those things happen, it's not the mind that says, okay, I'm going to make a change and now I'm going to put this into my. Typically, it's something that is beyond us that pushes us through these thresholds of complete change. I've had a few times in my life where my entire life changed. That when I got a divorce and left my house and moved to a different country and things like that. Those are massive changes, and a lot of times those things were pushed through by a higher power. But I'm talking about when we want to make a change in our normal everyday routine and we want to move our life in the direction of something new. So, or let's say go on a diet or a new physical routine, and we want to make a change, and a lot of times we try to do it in a way that is more drastic, is too drastic, or in a way that we're trying to push ourselves into situations that we naturally don't fall into. So and I'll give you an example of this because this is where it came up for me in my life, right? I have a morning routine. I meditate daily in the morning, as close as possible to my waking. And then usually I do like this short routine that works out, a workout routine, but very short, just a few minutes, where I move every part of my body. So I have this routine that I go through every part of my body and create movement to keep everything flexible. And over the past year, let's say, I started adding more and more things into that morning routine. And so the routine began to be longer and longer and longer to where I was finding that my routine is 20 minutes instead of 5 to 10 minutes. And what I started finding is that more and more mornings, I would just skip it all together because now to sit down and do a 20, to sit down, well, to stop everything and do a 20-minute routine, a lot of times I would either procrastinate around it and push it off till later and then never get to it. And what I realized is after a few days of not doing my morning routine and getting up in the morning and feeling extremely stiff and my muscles hurting, and I realized that it's better just to go back to the original routine, which is sustainable, which is 5 to 10 minutes in the morning, because that is something that I can easily do while I boil water to make coffee, or it's something that I'm not procrastinating around, that I do that fits the flow of my day very well. And it's better to do 5 to 10 minutes than not to do anything at all. And then once a week, I have a yoga routine that I typically go to with a teacher. It's an hour and a half. So that I pretty much, uh, and I do a lot of walking with my dogs and hiking because I enjoy that. I get out into nature a lot. So when I do that 5 minute routine in the morning and then once a week go to yoga, I feel like I can do V on my physical, keep up of my body. And so it's about finding something that is attainable, that is sustainable. Because if we're trying to push ourselves down a route that we do not naturally flow to, first of all, it'll turn into punishment. It'll turn into something that, it won't be something that we can integrate into our lives comfortably because we are forcing ourselves into it. So it starts becoming like a punishment, and then we start not looking forward to it, and that creates a life that is not enjoyable and and unsustainable, because A lot of times where we'll make ourselves work goals. Okay, I'm going to get better at this or this or that, whatever it is that we're trying to push. I'm going to learn business, but we're not naturally prone to that. That's not something that we naturally flow to or through. Then we are trying to force ourselves to go down a route. Now, I'm not saying it's not good to educate. It is excellent to educate ourselves in many different things. I know how to do many different things, but you have to taste the different things to see where you are naturally prone to flow to, because in those places that align with you naturally, you are going to excel at, you're going to be the best at, and they will lead you will have a more enjoyable life while you do them. So you do have to taste and push yourself down some routes, but then also know how to distinguish what is unsustainable. What is unsustainable anyway is going to fall out of your life. And what happens is a lot of times when we become rigid about something, we say, I'm going to do this, and now I'm going to, every day I'm going to go out on a run for half an hour, but that's not something that suits our lifestyle, our being. Then we are going to be forcing ourselves down a route that doesn't naturally flow with us and that we are out of alignment with. It doesn't have to be running. It could be anything. It could be the business that you decide that you're going to go through to, or trying to push yourself to be, more productive. One thing, because we have to learn how to work with our own selves, something that I've learned about myself is that I was always after myself, and this is the point. Don't beat yourself up over things, because a lot of times when we create a system that we think that we have to do and it's unsustainable and unaligned with us, and we're not naturally able to do it, and we're trying to force ourselves, and when we don't succeed or we don't do it the way that we anticipated, then we beat ourselves up over it, and then we have all this guilt and I'm not good enough, and look, other people can but I can't, what's wrong with me, and we have all of those stories that we tell ourselves. So this is kind of a video to let you know that you're okay. It's just when you're pushing yourself down routes that aren't suitable for you that it becomes unsustainable, and then just to leave the guilt and see it for what it is, and to create systems and things in your life that are sustainable. That means that a lot of times we try to create something, and instead of going into it gradually, we try to force ourselves. And then what ends up happening is that we leave it all together, just like the morning routine, my morning workout routine. Just leave it all together because it becomes like something weighing on you, and so it's much better to say, okay, I want a better lifestyle. I want a healthier lifestyle, and to start bringing more healthy things in, rather than, okay, that's it, I'm cutting out everything. And then you go into something that is unsustainable, and it's either all or nothing. And so when you still slowly start gravitating towards it, or gradually bringing it into your life, you will begin to see that it will create momentum, and it will naturally flow. So the more you eat natural, healthy things, the less you want all that processed food. The truth is that after a while, it starts growing you out. It's like, ugh, it's all processed and fake, and you don't want it in your body. You begin to love your body, and you don't want all of that in your body. And it's a process that happens naturally as you gradually move into it. So you can begin to just bring some things into your life and allow it to create momentum and create natural flow. A lot of times we have impatience, and that's why it's either all or nothing. And then you create this rigid, forcey thing in your life that doesn't work for you naturally. There was another point here that I was getting to, just a sec. So what we're looking to create is a soft, flowing life that you naturally enjoy, and that we're relieving the pressure. Because where does the pressure come? The pressure comes from us forcing ourselves down paths that are unsuitable for us. That's why we have to force ourselves. I'm not saying don't do dishes, but you can also enjoy doing dishes because you enjoy having a clean house, or you can enjoy your laundry being in the closet so that when you want to find something, it's you know where it is. Or you enjoy living in a life in a house that you are comfortable in, and then you begin to enjoy also the process of keeping it tidy. It comes from a completely different mindset than, oh no, I have to do dishes, I have to force myself. And if you have that kind of um, idea around it, or that kind of feeling around it, then maybe you should check if maybe you have too many dishes. I've done clean outs of my kitchen many times because there were just dishes piling up. It was way too much. And I realized that I felt like I was being punished every time I had to go and do dishes. It's simply because I had too much. I didn't enjoy what I had. And when I started going a little bit more minimalistic, then I everything that I had purpose, and I appreciated. And because I grew up in a house where we would have 5 can openers because one might be misplaced and you can't find it. So then we always have can openers. But what happens is when you have so much that there's so much clutter that you can't find things, and that's why you keep on having too much, or you have too much silverware because the silverware is always dirty. But the reason the silverware is always dirty is because you have too much silverware. So I grew up in that kind of house where we had multiple of each thing in case you couldn't find it or it was broken. So it's kind of like a kind of chaotic, and especially with the attention, that my attention is drawn to many different places. Then having clutter around you, a lot of things overstimulates you, and then you can't concentrate on anything because your eye is constantly being pulled. And so decluttering and minimalizing my home has really helped me in that way. So the more that we can learn to work with ourselves and understand ourselves, then we quit beating ourselves up for not being different than we are, and we begin to work and create a life that works with our natural tendencies. And so if I'm trying to force myself down a path that doesn't work for me, rather than beating myself up over why isn't it working for me, and why can't you be more like this person or that person, or why do other people, we're each individual, then I can see, well, wait a minute, maybe I'm trying to force myself down a path that isn't naturally attuned with me. Where is the path that is more attuned with me? And when I start flowing down that path, then everything flows and I am enjoying myself, and there is no force in it, because everything that I do, I am doing all of a sudden out of passion and wanting to do it and enjoying what I'm doing, and looking forward to getting up in the morning and continuing the project that I'm working on. And out of that also comes natural providence, because you are aligned with yourself. You are doing what you are best at doing, and what you excel at, and what you are excellent at, and better than any other person, because your product is a direct product of who you are, and you are the only one of you. And in that way, you naturally come into providence. But that place in between of that shifting is the uncomfortable, because there's a void in there. So it has to be like a handover. You kind of have to ease out of this and into this. And so slowly start bringing your life into the direction that you want. And it doesn't have to be in rigid shifts, because those in that rigid, a lot of times there's a tear, or it's unsustainable. It's all or nothing. And so then a lot of times it's nothing. And so a lot of times you just go right back into and say, oh, I tried that. That doesn't work. But an actual life change and an internal change is something that happens gradual, because our belief systems gradually change, right? Sometimes it's just like that. But a lot of times, if we want to purposefully change our life and we want to be in control, take the bull by the horns and be in control of our life, we can't just sit around waiting for one of those moments, because a lot of times those moments happen after your life is in so much shambles that it just cannot continue. So if you want to purposefully, and a lot of times if we're sitting in a life that is kind of comfortable, it's out of alignment, but it's comfortable enough, we will sit in that safety for the rest of our lives and never make the changes that to exhilarate our lives, to make our lives the best lives ever, and to fully enjoy our lives. And what do we have here? It's an experience. It's all an experience. So even if you try, and what you perceive to fall flat on your face, what you fall flat on your face according to your perception, that's an experience. So you got to experience that. Cool. That added value into your life. It added experience and knowledge and tools and movement into your life. And so it's all trial and error. You know, it's somebody that has never failed, has never tried. So create that movement and try to make changes in increments that are sustainable, and slowly, gradually, you will shift your life into alignment with you. And it's not about beating yourself up to align to what is out of alignment naturally with you. It is more like trying different things, and rather than beating yourself up, saying, okay, well, this is kind of out of sync with me because I can't, it's unsustainable. I'm not able to do it. I have to force myself to do it. So it's not something that I'm naturally prone to. It's not something that I naturally enjoy. So, you know, there are people that naturally enjoy trinketing with little machineries and seeing how the mechanics work, and they could just do that all day. And that was what they are naturally prone to. And it's like there is an abundance of different types of people in the world, so that society will be rounded with many different types of people. And to want to be, if you are a trinketer, to want to be an artist, even though that's a sort of artistry, right? But we have to use words to you know. So if you are naturally prone to this, but you think that artists are so cool, so you want to be an artist, so you try to force yourself to be an artist, you're never going to excel at that. Find what you naturally excel at and do that, because that is where you're going to enjoy yourself the most as well. So thank you so much for watching. Sending you so much love. If you would like to meet with me one-on-one, my contact information is in my website. Thank you.